Mars in Pisces in the birth chart. Let's talk about it. It is a placement that is really, really deeply intuitive. It acts on its intuition. It acts on what it feels in the moment and what feels right. And it is always seeking the bigger purpose. It's always seeking the greater good. It's always seeking that bigger, higher plan that exists. And it does this for the highest good of the all. That's what it's all about. And when it does this for this kind of purpose, really lives this out really nicely. And it tends to be very gentle. And at worst, it can be very passive-aggressive with its actions and, all that it does. But at best, it can really harbor a lot of compassion, a lot of empathy for others. And it surrenders personal gain, personal power. Instead, chooses self-sacrifice. Instead, chooses at the lower to being a doormat, of not having any power, being a victim, but at the high road, really fighting for a purpose and giving your all into something that you deeply care about that's much greater than yourself. In this episode of the Cosmic Sky Podcast, I'm going to be discussing Mars in Pisces in depth in the birth chart, and what it means for somebody if they have this going on individually. This is an individual reading, and this is a general astrology video. I'm going to be doing these from today up until the 18th. Starting on the 19th, I will be getting back to more transits, which will include Sun square Neptune. I want to talk about that. Mars in Gemini, the full moon in Capricorn, Mercury retrograde in Cancer, Jupiter in Leo, and then the July forecast. So with all that I have in mind that I want to get to, I'm starting on the 19th of June, so I can, plan it out, well, because I want to talk about all those transits, because I find all those transits really fascinating. And so look forward to that then, but, from now up until the 18th, I am doing more general content. Today's conversation is on Mars in Pisces, and tomorrow will be Mars in Aquarius. So let's talk about Mars in Pisces. This video is a conversation which discusses Mars in Pisces. So, the thing with Mars in Pisces, can we really place anger in the category of the Mars placements? Or can this anger have to do with the circumstances of your life? The real circumstances of what is going on in your life. And speaking of Pisces, it's a water sign. That's the very element that I'm going to be drinking right now. Okay, I just had to do that as I was thirsty. So, can anger really be pinned down by the different Mars placements? Or can it be just the circumstances of your life? With all your other transits, with all your other planets and different signs of what's really going on in your life. Because that's what it can really easily be. Is it can be what's going on in your individual lives and what happens in that kind of way. And it deals with sort of the overall conflict going on in people's lives. The overall battles that occur between one person and another. So this placement is really peaceful. It seeks peace and harmony at all costs, but not in a Libra, I'm compromising, I'm bonding on, and I'm doing this on an intellectual level, because Libra is highly intellectual of a sign. It is a sign which is so much about mental ideas and having conversations and all those kind of things like that. Whereas Pisces tends to do this more spiritually, more intuitively, more quietly. It tends to do this on a very, very peaceful level, on a very, very spiritual level. So it is described as really, really peaceful, and mild-mannered. But the real truth is that Pisces knows how to get out of a situation that is not for that particular person who has Mars in Pisces. It knows, and at best it can be very, very discerning. Where, Pisces, you wouldn't think of Pisces as a very discerning sign, and Mars in Pisces is a very, very discerning placement. However, it can be discerning in that it knows what is and isn't for it. What situation is and isn't for it. What situation is petty or trivial or overly logical, overly in the egoic drama of what's going on. What situation's more compassionate, more spiritual, more higher level, more Jupiterian, more philosophical, that kind of thing. So it's very discerning in that way, actually, and it knows how to escape from situations that it just knows, okay, the situation is not, I don't cut the mustard for this situation. This situation is not cut out for me to be in. So they go away from it. This placement is really, really deeply intuitive. It intuits things really, really easily. It has very, very strong intuition. Mars in Pisces is known for having really, really strong intuition, and having a very, very strong sixth sense. And really, a sixth sense is your first sense. That's what it can really be. Is your intuition is your inner guiding compass, which sort of tells you what to do and where to go, whatever time, just by a vibe, just by whatever feels right. And and then conversely, it also tells you what doesn't feel right, what isn't right, what is not a good vibrational match, what does not very, very sound in terms of its vibration. And so Mars in Pisces really, really has really, really strong, fine-tuned intuition toward things and toward what it knows and what it deems to be very, very, secure, and what it feels secure about on an intuitive level, and what lacks the security for going on. So it intuits things really, really easily. What's going on here. It has a very, very strong intuition. I keep sort of bringing up that point over and over again here. So the intuition with this placement is incredibly strong, incredibly potent. I was about to say step, which is my word for strong, but I'm not going to use it here. Doesn't operate on logic, doesn't operate on pragmatism. It operates on its intuition, what feels right in the moment, etc. Now, when it comes to conflict, let's talk about conflict, because Mars is how you show up in battle. Mars is how you fight. Mars is how you assert yourself. Mars is how you really defend yourself, and it's very aggressive, and Mars can be very, very defensive in terms of its energy. So when it comes down to conflict specifically, it might just swim away from the conflict. Like Pisces will swim around you and go around you, but it won't be directly towards you. Kind of like Mars in Cancer. How it's like the crab sort of going around the obstacle, not going directly towards the obstacle. Its way of asserting itself and being very, very aggressive is very, very indirect. Very, very indirect. That's what you have to remember. So it might just swim around you and not be directed towards you. Might not direct its energy completely towards you. It'll just swim away. We'll just go to another land, go to another frequency, go to another place, not be in that conflict, not be in that difficulty. So, as I've said before, it knows how to get out of a situation. It knows how to escape from the situation. That's definitely clear from this sort of knowledge base that we already have on Mars and Pisces from this video. So it just is masters of escaping, not being directly involved with a situation. It's good at finding a way out of a situation. Now, Mars in Pisces is prone to extremism. And just so we know what extremism is, which is one of the Pisces shadows, it's just sort of very, very unique, fringe views on things and actions that you take that are not in alignment with regular society. They're not, with that. Okay. Alrighty. So, when it comes to extremism, because we have to remember Mars is ruled by Pisces is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is the ancient ruler of Pisces, and Pisces was ruled by Neptune. Neptune's the modern ruler of Pisces. Mars and Pisces, it dreams big. It's the very first thing that we have to remember, is that it dreams big. It has these very, very big, lofty visions, these very, very big, lofty dreams that come in with it. And it tends to go into something in a rather grandiose way, but not in a, like excited Jupiter, very, very blowing up, very, very exaggerated, very, very compulse, very, very, loud and overexcitable and messy way, like Sagittarius, but in a more subtle, spiritual, open, expansive way. Now, Mars in Pisces, we have to remember, Mars in Pisces is a sign of sacrifice. Pisces rules sacrifice. And so, what I was coming across through reading is the whole conversation around self-sacrifice. Letting go of the self. And I'm going to define self-sacrifice so we know what that means. Basically, selflessness. Putting others' needs above your own needs. Sacrificing your personal desires, your comfort, and for someone that you love, or something greater than yourself. That's what self-sacrifice is. So Mars and Pisces can be very, very good at this, really, really clearly. It's great at self-sacrifice. It can really excel at doing very difficult things, carrying on all these burdens, giving up things that it wants, giving up things that it might want and might need in a sense. Where it sort of gives the other more food than itself, gives the other a bigger slice of the pie than it would give it, gives another a bigger slice of cake, a bigger piece of pizza, more of a serving of that pasta dish than you would give that self. Instead of giving yourself a big portion of spaghetti, you give another person a bigger portion of spaghetti than yourself, because you care and you want more for that person. You're willing to give up your own sense of comfort and nourishment for others. Now, I do have some thoughts about this, and if you've seen my videos, you'll probably know what my beliefs are around self-sacrifice already. But just to say that Mars and Pisces can give more food to others than itself, and can carry on the burdens. It can do harder tasks than others would do. It can carry on very difficult tasks going on there. It can give up themselves really strongly. It can give up who they individually are. It can give up their time, their health, their well-being for something larger than themselves. They give so much up. They give so much energy and attention and look at something and giving it up for something bigger than yourself, giving it up for that larger vision, that larger picture, that larger cause. And they're very good at tapping into the oneness of all that is. Because remember, Pisces is oneness. In Pisces energy, we are all one. There are no boundaries. There are no separation. There are no limits. We are all interconnected and interlinked with one another in this ocean of connected consciousness that we are all, tied together in. So, that is definitely true. And so, Mars and Pisces can give and be kind and compassionate in a very ferocious way. It has ferocious compassion. And it forgives in a very compassionate way. It is very deeply forgiving compassionately. Mars and Pisces is very forgiving. It has a strength when it comes to the ability to forgive, first and foremost, because it just has that quality of being able to let go of any grudge, let go of any dislike or this hate or hatred or resentment between you and another person, and it just opens it builds bridges instead of walls. Barbara Streisand, who has Venus in Pisces and the Pisces South Node, sang the song Walls, and that was about taking down the barriers that we have between others, the emotional barriers and the physical barriers, both and building bridges of connection and reaching out and having compassion instead of building up walls of, closing ourselves off from one another. That was the message of the song. So, the walls were very symbolic in that song. And so they're very forgiving. They're deeply forgiving in terms of their energy, in terms of their sort of mojo, sort of, really, that kind of quality. So, being deeply forgiving, And I'm going to talk about forgiveness a little bit more. And then there's a lot of power when it comes to being kind and giving. Kind, selfless, compassionate, and giving. There's a lot of power in that. You're taking an active role in being the one who's kind, being the one who has a lot of power, being the one who gives. You're taking an active role in that. And you are showing that, okay, I do have power, and I'm going to use my power for the greater good of all. Now, it takes power to show forgiveness and compassion towards others. It takes a lot of courage, maybe some humility. It takes, it takes, the grace needed and the willingness to show these kind of qualities. Now, they may rise above the chaos. That's what they might do. They might rise above that chaos. They might rise above the chaos and the conflict. Rising above those kind of qualities. So they may really go above these kind of things. They may not choose to engage in conflict. They may not choose to engage in chaos. And so they may, when it comes to their fighting strategy, their battle strategy, or the strategy in battle, their strategy is forgiveness. Like they aim to create compassion and oneness and peace and kindness and forgiveness so badly, they fight for love. And they fight in a very, very loving, gentle way. So others, other people feel just a rejection and a feeling against forgiveness. Because it's like, trying to think of how I can, spin this and phrase this. It's kind of like the other person knows. They know that they didn't do anything wrong, anything bad, anything immoral or unethical or mean or hateful or, whatever it is. I think spiteful is the word for it. And they feel that they haven't done wrong. They know in their hearts that they feel in their hearts that they didn't do it wrong, and yet the Mars and Pisces person is forgiving them. And I can't put myself in that situation where I would understand the dynamic of how it would work. But anyway, they feel like whatever that the Mars and Pisces person is trying to forgive them for, they didn't do. They didn't commit that action. And so, Mars and Pisces tends to act for the cause of the larger picture, tends to act for the sake of the larger vision, the larger, the bigger picture, something larger than themselves. Hence the title of this video. Not the petty little details of an argument. Mars and Virgo might get really, really caught in the little, minutia and details of what's going on in an argument, of what's going on in that sense with what happens, argument-like in a battle, in a conflict, and what this person said, and how this person approached the strategy, and what were the psychological motivations in that Mars and Scorpio, Mars and Virgo conversations. Instead, Mars and Pisces wants to rise above that and wants to see the larger vision and the larger point towards that argument, the larger purpose behind why you're fighting in the first place. There may be conflicts between people who feel like they don't have a lot of power, that they are weak, that they are victims, that they are defenseless, very, very vulnerable in a sense, with not being able to change or impact the powerful systems that be and the powers that be, big brother governments that and or authority figures or teachers or whoever that has a certain grip of power over them, that seems to have more control, that dominates, that makes the rules, that may make these people very, very upset, very, very angry, very, very mad, because it really, really gets them angry because it hurts them. It's very, very mean, very, very unfair to them. They are at a disadvantage from these powers. And so they feel like they're trying to fight up against these powers, including others. We fight because we want to gain power, and we feel like our power is taken away from us. So we try to fight to gain power, to gain control. Otherwise, why are we fighting? That's not the whole purpose and reason behind why we fight in the first place when it comes to that, what's going on there. They seem to have more power. And, they do, when it comes to these arguments, they understand, okay, these arguments are merely solely logical, and that's the sole basis around the argument is logic and facts, and so they kind of surrender to that. They kind of surrender to the logical arguments going on for the sake of conflict. That's what they tend to do, is surrender to the that kind of a thing. And if they would classify conflicts to be to be what they are, if they would even associate or think about or contemplate conflicts, they would know that it was just for logical arguments. What's going on, logically, and that kind of a sense, right there. So they surrender to that. And they only see conflicts as being worth fighting for if they have a larger purpose attached to them. Otherwise, they don't want to bother fighting. Otherwise, they don't want to bother competing or doing whatever. They only fight if the conflict has a larger point to it, a larger meaning to it. And they can give up their lives for a meaningful, larger purpose. Where they can give things up in a sense. Where they can give up what they need and what they really, really want personally and individually for something larger than themselves. They can give up their lives for a deeper, meaningful, something more meaningful that is beyond them, that is bigger than them. That's really their whole purpose of how they thrive. Now, with Mars and Pisces, action becomes where you're acting from a more intuitive place, you're more using your intuition. Mars and Pisces is very, very adaptable. Really, really just adapt to circumstances. And if your intuition, you're adaptable. If you're your intuition, then you adapt with the feeling. You adapt with what feels right. You do whatever feels right in the moment with whatever is going on, with whatever picture, with whatever situation that you're in. Okay, this feels right. This feels like the way to go. This feeling feels right. This vibe feels off, or this vibe feels right on the contrary. And so I'm adapting and doing what feels right in the moment. It's Pisces is that kind of a sense. And, it's, as I said, indirect about obstacles. It goes around the obstacles instead of directly going about conflict, directly approaching conflict. And the drive with Mars and Pisces is very, very powerful, yet gentle. Powerful, yet gentle. All relative to whatever serves the highest good of the all. Mars and Pisces seeks to serve the highest good of the all. So that's what its sort of life mission is, truly. Is that. So, Mars and Pisces can really, really excel at that, really, really hugely, with not being the dominator, or not being the controlling, or not being the, the one who infringes or imposes or projects or takes others down in a very, very aggressive way, but instead asserts itself in the sense that I am standing up for this other person because they are in a weaker situation than I am, or than this other person is. They are in a very, very vulnerable, defenseless place. So I'm standing up for them, standing up for the underdog, as it were. I'm standing up for, I'm standing up for, those kind of individuals. And so they can have a lot of, drive with this. And, and they can really, really sense, the right time. They can really sense, they really, really believe in the laws of divine timing. That the right thing at the right time is the right thing, and the right thing at the wrong time is the wrong thing. Like they deeply believe that in their soul, in their very being, in that kind of sense of the word. So they sense the right time, the right way of doing it, and they want to do something in a way that serves the larger good, the greater good. And they seek to help others. That's what they seek to do, is to support others in that kind of a sense. And they want to help others. They want to be there for others. They want to make a positive difference in others' lives. They want to offer healing and comfort and compassion to others, because that's what ultimately, Pisces wants to offer, is healing, comfort, and compassion towards others. So individuals with a lot of Pisces in their chart, especially Saturn there, Chiron there, Mars there, South Node there, or North Node there, can make great counselors and therapists, because they know how to tap into being compassionate, being empathetic, putting themselves aside, and really, really having a lot of kindness and wanting to be there for the other person and listen to them and do all that way. A lot of individuals with a lot of Pisces in their charts can make great counselors, healers, and therapists, especially in the spiritual sense, in the psychological, emotional sense. So, you want to help others. Maybe create, creating beautiful works of art out into the world, because Pisces is very, very artistic. Pisces is very, very dreamy, very, very creative, very otherworldly, very right brain. Pisces is more right brain, and Virgo is more left brain. The left brain is more logic and details and facts and all those kind of things like that. And the right brain is more creative, visionary, intuitive sort of being, ways of being. So, they want to do this, and they also want to contribute to the world, where they're putting out their compassion. They want to show how compassionate they are to the world. They want to put out their compassion in the world, especially in service. They want to serve for the sake of compassion. They want to serve others in a compassionate way with whatever they're doing, either by helping them with someone's job, or helping them as a doctor, or as a financial advisor, or as a counselor, or someone else in a healing service profession. You don't force things into being. You don't just force things, you don't just push things into being. Instead, you allow things. Mars and Pisces allows things to percolate and occur when they need to. That's really what they do, in a sense. And so they sort of know how to intuitively sense the right moment with doing things. They intuitively sense the right moment and the right way of going about what they need to do in the moment with what feels right. That's sort of what they pick up on, in a way, is the right time and the right way of going about it. They sort of have the tendency of taking on others' emotions and needs, in addition to their own emotions and needs. They can get drowned. They can really, really, feel that in their hearts and souls. These emotions and the things that it picks up on intuitively may very, very much overwhelm you. They may overwhelm you and drain your capacity to act. They may hold you back and keep you from taking action to help them, to support them, to offer the compassion that you want to. Or these things, these events, these emotions that overwhelm you may really, really motivate you to act in a very, very compassionate, loving way. May motivate you to, I just deeply in my soul want to help, want to give, want to heal, want to do all these kind of things like that. They genuinely want to make the world a better place, just like Aquarius. That's what the two signs, Pisces and Aquarius, have in common, is that they both want to make the world a better, more loving, more equal, evolved place, just in different ways. So, but with Pisces, it's more from a compassionate, in a more compassionate way, in a way that's more spiritually connected to the all, rather than seeking personal acknowledgement and recognition. So they want to, they definitely want to do this, where they want to help the world, by offering spiritual compassion and spiritual gifts, rather than just seeking the fame or the attention for themselves. You want to work to serve a higher purpose or contribute to kindness and healing in the world. That's what Mars and Pisces wants to do, is to the kindness and healing in the world. They sense the right moment to take action, that because they operate from their intuition, and they make their approach more flexible. They want their approach to be more flexible, based on changing circumstances, based on changing feelings and all those kind of things like that, or when it comes from their intuition. So, they sort of, again, they're very, very intuitive. And if a circumstance were to change, if something were to change, they're going to act in accordance to that, act in response to that. They're going to, respond to that, in a way here. And so their efforts may add to something meaningful and something that heals the world. That's what their, efforts may bring to the world. Is that their efforts may heal the world. It may bring meaning and bring joy and bring peace and bring compassion to the world. And so they can be rather passive-aggressive. They can not be direct when it comes to going after a goal or achieving the goal. They may fall down to passive aggression. I'm going to look up passive aggressive. Expressing negative feelings very indirectly. They don't want direct conflict. They want peace. They want harmony. They may become very withholding of themselves. They may withhold themselves. Become very, in the emotions of it. So, you fiercely protect those. You fiercely protect those who cannot help themselves, because Mars in Pisces wants to help those who cannot help themselves. And you believe conflict. The act of just fighting in conflict with another and being very, aggressive and battling it out and doing whatever, interferes with the need for harmony and peace. It takes away from harmony and peace that Pisces wants, that spiritual, peace, spiritual compassionate peace that it seeks. And so, you want others to see how their behavior affects people in very, very weak situations. Affects those in really, really, those who are defenseless. You want others who do things that hurt others to see who they affect and how they affect others in very, very negative ways, and how they affect those people very, very negatively, and hurt them very, very deeply, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, whatever. And you pull back from those people who act in really, really mean and harmful ways. You pull back. You don't want to engage. You don't want to be in direct conflict with those people. That's what you want, because you want peace, and you just want to rise above that. It's like it's petty. There's no point in it. It's like it's, you don't want to engage with anything ego-like. Anything that involves the low qualities of the ego. So aggression, anger, controlling, those kind of things. You want to detach from that and disengage and not involve yourself in those egoic kind of battles. So, you also want to help, the sort of, areas of growth for you that I'm going to end with here. Is the downside of Pisces is that, you can be so incredibly compassionate and so incredibly healing and giving and all that you that you have no boundaries, that you lack boundaries. Where just you're giving and you're helping, and so you get taken advantage of because of your compassionate, loving, kind energy of just wanting to serve and give, that you don't have strong boundaries when it comes to, I'm helping this person, but then this person I know intuitively is going to take advantage of it. Like really tapping into, really using your intuition to see, like, is this person have good intentions? Are they secure within themselves? Are they going to appreciate what I do? Are they going to love what I do? Are they going to take care of themselves and not be so weak and invalid-like that they're taking advantage of me and my compassion, my gifts? And so, drawing healthy boundaries with helping others and healing others is really, really huge. Not just helping anyone and everyone that you come across that that needs your help, and that anyone that needs help and healing and love and care and all that kind of thing. You're drawing those lines in the sand. You're saying, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to sacrifice my own sense of peace, my own well-being, my own strength, my own sense of power. I'm not going to give up my power for others. It's about not falling prey to victim consciousness, not feeling like you don't have any power, with the internal dialogue that I have no power, that I can't help, that I'm helpless, that I can't help myself, that I can't control the outside forces, that I'm just succumbing and a victim towards this universe, just floating into the all and losing your sense of individuality and sovereignty and personal empowerment and autonomy over your own life is really, really the downside of this placement. And so, knowing that you do have power and that you are not a victim, even though you may put yourself in very victim-like situations, really getting out of that's really important. And then the final thing is blending intuition with the practical. Blending, what is practical and logical with what is intuitive. You can blend these two things together. You can combine the best of both worlds. You can use the practical and intuition as sort of an assistant to your intuition. The intuition is always going to lead the way and not the ego, because the ego is rationality. So if your ego can be a support system to your soul, if the ego can aid your soul and help your soul in leading your life and going about your life, and living your life in a very, very prosperous and very, very beneficial and efficient way, where you're serving and you're being compassionate and all that. If the ego rationality can serve the intuition, the soul, then that can be very, very helpful for you with combining the practical with the intuitive, blending the best of both worlds, combining the best of both worlds together. That's really where you can grow and thrive in this lifetime. So that is all that I have on Mars and Pisces in the birth chart. I hope that you found a lot of value from this episode of the Cosmic Sky Podcast. I will be back for another episode tomorrow on the 13th of June, which today, as I'm doing this, Uranus is exactly square the lunar nodes. You want to check out your horoscopes. I have that in this podcast. You want to check out the collective video and the 12 sign video for that. You can check that out. And then I have all the transits there for you. I have Uranus square the nodes, Venus and Leo, the new moon in Gemini, and Chiron and Taurus all done for you to watch. Tomorrow I am going to be discussing Mars in Aquarius, the placement of Mars in Aquarius, and how that can be fighting in a very, very humanitarian way, fighting for also the greater good of the all, but more humanitarian, more intellectual, more fighting for individuality and fighting for peace and personal sovereignty. In that sense of the word, what goes on with Mars in Aquarius. So, anyway, I will see you in that next episode of the Cosmic Sky Podcast. Until then, this is Everett Cardy signing off and saying bye for now, and I will see you next time. Or I will, I will speak next time like there's a picture in this video like I'm like a god or an oracle speaking from the picture. Like, if you think of me as an angel or god or an oracle, I'm just a human being talking with a picture. But I think that it's a very, very beloved, very, very neat mindset to think about when I do these videos, that I am just a voice from another realm, from another dimension speaking. Yeah, it's very, very cool to think about that with these videos. But anyway, bye for now.